I love this book. It's so descriptive. It's so vivid. This girl is thick. It's just not the type of books that I gravitate to. I almost DNF'd this book. Hello, my lovely people. Welcome back. My name is Speedy for those of you who are new here. As y'all saw in the title or thumbnail, this video is going to be all about the books that I read for June. So this is my June reading wrap. Go grab a drink, get cozy, and let's start our reading wrap. Let's start off with our statistics. This month in total, I read 7 books. 1 was a romance book, 1 was a thriller, 2 were historical fiction, and 3 were fantasy/romantasy. Now, starting off with the first segment of this video, which is what I like to call rock stars to Highlanders. So the first book that I read this month is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And right off the bat, I'm not going to hide it. I love this book. This is a 5-star read for me. So to give a little bit of context, this story is about the formation of a band, their journey to stardom, and why they broke up. It is inspired by many other bands, and from what I looked up online, I believe Fleetwood Mac is one of the bigger inspirations, but it's not based on that band. It's just inspired by it and many others. Just like many others, my favorite part of the story was actually the formatting, the way this book was written. It was in an interview style, and you got to see everyone's point of view, and it was just amazing. It did not take away from the narration. It was just so good. I could see it play out in my head. It was such a clever way of writing, in my opinion. This book has obviously incredibly flawed characters. You feel the Hollywood vibes, the rock star vibes, the journey from coming from nothing to like having all this fame and the pressure of fame. It just felt so realistic, and I felt like these were real characters. I really genuinely had to look up if this band existed. I don't know, the characters just felt so real to me. If you have a chance to listen to it on audiobook, this actually has one of the best audiobook narrations in my opinion, because you hear all the different personalities just through the voices. It just gave so much more context. Yeah, I love this book. Nothing else I want to say. As I mentioned, I gave this a 5 out of 5, and as I already mentioned, probably one of my favorite books of the year. Moving on to our next book, which is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. This book, my first introduction to this world, was actually through the show. I did watch the show first, Outlander, before reading the book. Before rewatching it, I want to actually read the series because I heard really good things about it. To give just a quick summary, the story is about our main character Claire, who is on her second honeymoon post-World War II. She suddenly travels through time to 1743. The set is in Scotland. I think one of my favorite parts of this book is just how immersive the world is. It's so descriptive, it's so vivid. I felt like I was there, and just like our character, we're just trying to understand the time, understand the mannerisms. I absolutely loved the adventure that this book has. Claire having to figure out how to get back home, but being kind of taken through this journey, and it's just so interesting. So I really did enjoy this book. However, I do want to mention, just like the show, the book has some very triggering content. So I definitely recommend looking up any content warnings for this book, because a lot of it does happen on page. There's assault, there's abuse, there's violence, there's death. Please look up the content warnings. This book did take me a while to finish, but it was definitely worth the read. Overall, I just really did enjoy this book. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5, and as for spice, I did say 2.5, but for 2.5, it wasn't explicit scenes like the spicy smutty books that we get now. It was more about the passion and the feeling, and it did happen more often. That's why it's at a 2.5, not necessarily for smut, if that makes any sense. Now, the next segment of this video is fantasy escapes. I actually wore my fantasy earrings today just for this section. So let's start off with the first book I picked up in this segment, which was When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. So I got this book for Christmas actually, and I finally got around to reading it. It was so intimidating because this girl is thick. Now, a little bit of context for this book. This story is about our main character Rave, who is part of a resistance that is trying to overthrow the current monarchy when her life just turns into shambles. That's all I'm going to say. One of my favorite things about this book was the world. It is complex. If you're not into world building, then that might not be your thing because it is so detailed in that. But I ate this up. I will say, because it is heavy on the world building, sometimes the author did focus on details that weren't really important to the overall plot, but I still did enjoy it, even if it did drag at times because of that. Another part that I really did love about this book was that our main character was already part of the resistance. She was not an outsider to this political scheming power play that happens in most fantasy books. She was already in it, and I do like that. I like it when characters are like that, because then you're just thrown into it, and I like it when a book starts off with like a lot of action from the beginning, because it just keeps me entertained from the start. Now, for the stuff that I kind of was not a huge fan of but didn't bother me too much was the romance. This is a romantasy after all. There is a bit of an insta-lovey, insta-lusty kind of feel, but I don't care too much because it makes sense for the overall story. Like, I understand why that reaction. However, it would have been a lot more fun and a lot more impactful if we did see the chemistry develop and the relationship develop a little bit more, but I'm okay. It's fine. It didn't bother me too much. Overall, I'm excited for the second book. I'm excited for character development because you could see Rave. That's one of the things that I was a little bit annoyed about, but you could see Rave's personality and how much she could grow in this story. So I have high hopes. I hope this doesn't bite me in the butt later. So overall, I gave this a 4 out of 5, and as for spice, I gave it a 2 chili peppers. The next book that I read, I actually read this one on my Kindle, and that was a book club book, and that's Shield of Sparrows by Devoney Perry. If you saw my previous reading vlog, then you will know my reaction to this. If you want a more in-depth detail of how and why my rating is the way it is, you can go see that reading vlog, because I just show a lot more emotion about it there. But just to start off right off the bat, I want to reiterate in this reading vlog, this was not a book that I normally would read. If I knew the writing style, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. It's just not the type of books that I gravitate to, and that's okay. That's just a personal opinion of mine. That does not make the book any less good for others. I know that this is a very popular book right now, so by all means, don't let my opinions dissuade you. Now, to not talk badly about a book that I know an author put a lot of effort into writing, I'm going to focus on the good things that I felt about this book. And I'm giving you no context. Let me give you some quick context. Basically, Shield of Sparrows is about our princess Odessa, who is basically like a neglected princess. She is just kind of pushed to the side while her younger sister is groomed into being the Sparrow, which is a peace treaty between kingdoms. Odessa turns out to be the princess that has to marry now, and she's thrown into this life that she was not expecting. So that's kind of the gist of the story. Now, for what I did like to end this review on a good note, I love the monsters. I love a world of monsters, especially when the people in this world react realistically to these monsters. So these monsters were terrorizing villages. These monsters were killing people. Like, it just made sense how in this new kingdom she was in, people were revolving their lives around these monsters in order to survive. And I really did enjoy that. I like the descriptions of the monsters. I feel like when it comes to like writing creatures like that, there's so much creativity that goes into it. So that was one of my favorite things. But overall, I am going to rate this book a 2.5 out of 5, and as for spice, I rated it 2 chili peppers. Now, the last fantasy book that I read for this segment, Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is the third and final book to the Powerless trilogy, and oh boy, was this one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I cannot give any context for this book because it will spoil the series overall. A little bit of context on the actual series itself. It is a young adult book. It is a fantasy / romantasy, heavy on the romance. This is definitely a romance plot rather than a fantasy plot, so if that's not your thing, you probably won't enjoy this. This series is about our main character Peyton, who is an ordinary girl in a world full of extraordinary people who have powers and magic, and ordinaries are basically not allowed to be in this kingdom. She's just trying to survive in this world that is rejecting her. I really enjoyed the first half. The first half reminded me of why I wanted to read the series. The yearning, the pining, the push, the pull. Now, we get to a point where I almost DNF'd this book. Not because I thought the writing was bad or anything, but because we got to a point of view that was given to us that gave me an ick so bad. I went and spoiled the plot twist for myself because I was not going to continue reading if things were not explained from an early start. My camera's heating up. I'm going to continue this in a few minutes and give my camera a break. Once I got that cleared up, I was able to move on, but it kind of just left me feeling a certain kind of way throughout the whole book, and it kind of like took away from the book. So because of that, I was just like, this was probably my least favorite of the overall series. I will say though, another thing that I really did enjoy about this was Mac. Mac made me cry. I love Mac. And the epilogue, like the epilogue at the very end. Those made me cry. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5. And no spice. It's a young adult book, so there's absolutely no spice. Now, the last segment of this video I like to call dark versus light. So we'll start off with the dark first to end on a good note. This book that I picked up is called The Good Daughter by Karin Slaughter. This is a thriller, and if you know Karin Slaughter, she writes darker thrillers. So definitely this is another one where please check content warning. There is violence, there is abuse, there is assault, there is very triggering topics in here. We just want to take care of ourselves when reading books like this. To give some context, the story is about a family that goes through a very traumatic event and changes their lives completely. I think overall what I really enjoyed about the story was just the mystery of it all. It was more of you're trying to figure out what happened to understand why these people are the way they are, and then you do have this extra plot at the side, and the side plot is a little bit predictable, but it's the story behind the people that you want to know why they react the way they are reacting. I don't know, it was just so interesting. Something about this author just pulls me in. Camera overheated again. Okay, we'll go through this fast. Overall, the feeling that this book gave me left me icky and wanting to shower, but I could not put it down. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed myself. The final book that I read was on my Kindle, and that was Here for the Cake by Jennifer Milliken. This was a cute, fluffy romance book. It was summery, and I had a really fun time reading it. Some context, this is a story about Paisley, our main character, who is asked to be a bridesmaid, a maid of honor for her sister's wedding. And her sister, the twist, is marrying Paisley's ex. Of course, Paisley does not want to worry her family and decides to show up with a fake boyfriend. There's the fake dating trope. There's the summer vibes. I think one of my favorite things was the male main character was awkward and a little bit anxious. He wasn't your typical alpha male in like a romance book, and I really liked that because it was a lot more realistic, but it gave me all the summer vibes. It was a good palate cleanser. I enjoyed myself. Nothing else I could say about that book. So overall, I gave it a 3 out of 5, and as for spice, I did give it a 2.5 out of 5, I believe. It might be a little bit lower than that, but there was some spice. But yeah, those were basically all the books that I read. I just wanted to give a quick update before my camera fully just dies on me. I just want to let y'all know this is going to be one of my last reading wraps until September, and that's because I decided in order to be able to explore more content I can make around books, I wanted to do reading wraps on a quarterly basis rather than doing them monthly like I have normally been doing and feeling a little bit repetitive when I do them that way. The next one you will be seeing is in September, and I will be reviewing July, August, and September books. Oh, I guess technically you'll be seeing it in October then. That's kind of where my thought process is and that change. Let me know what y'all think about that. Give me some feedback. If you want them monthly, I'll keep them monthly, but if not, we can try this way instead. Yeah, I think overall that's it. If you read any of these books, let me know down in the comments below, or let me know what was your favorite book. Mine was definitely Daisy Jones and the Six. That was probably one of my favorite books of the year. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already and you would like to, please subscribe. I usually make book content, and now and then I make some lifestyle vlogs. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for putting up with me and this camera overheating almost every 5 minutes. Have a beautiful day and happy reading. Bye!